Okay, good. So, as I said, today marks the first of three Cities of Equality exchanges. And in these exchanges, we invite a local government or local governments to share their experience and their tips from implementing a participatory process in their city, so that others can learn and ask questions. And our goal really is to better equip local governments, but also civil society organizations and others to apply inclusive participatory processes in their places. So this exchange series today is organized collaboratively through ICLEI Europe, where is my organization, which is a network of local governments for sustainability, and an EUI expert, Ian Graham, who I'll hand over to in just a moment. And it's part of the urban agenda for the EU Cities of Equality partnership, which is a group of stakeholders working to improve better regulation, better knowledge, and a better finance towards equality within cities. And I'll share a link in the chat just so you can get to know what this partnership is about in a moment. But without further ado, I am going to hand over the microphone to Ian, who will lead the show today together with the city of Komotini. So, Ian, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Sophia. And yeah, great to see so many people in the room with us today. We're kind of been really looking forward to kicking off these sessions. And as Sophia said, it's part of the Cities of Equality Partnership. And part of what we're doing in the work that myself and Sophia and colleagues at ICLEI are leading on is around really understanding and mapping out where there have been good examples of practice or emerging examples of practice around participation, but particularly with a equity, equality, fairness angle in cities. So not just talking about participation in general, but thinking about how does it link in with the theme of sort of cities of equality. So today we'll be having some content and presentation from the City of Komotini in Greece, which I'll introduce shortly. And we'll basically go through that and gradually open up the discussion. So we'll have a bit of an exchange first, but then as we go through, we can open up the discussion for other people to ask questions, to share their views, and we can sort of build it up into a broad conversation to sort of see sort of full range of opinions and ideas and around this topic. So it's very much up to you to participate if you wish to. You're very welcome to get involved in the later part of the discussion, and we'd really welcome that. As we go through the first part, if you do have questions whilst we're sort of doing the initial bit, do drop those into the chat, and we can pick up on those as we go through. So in the first instance, you can put things in there. But yeah, so without any greater delay, really, I want to bring in and introduce Dimitrios from Komotini, who's going to talk to us a bit about the work they've been doing in the last, I think, well, quite a reasonable number of years to increase equality and accessibility in the city. So Dimitrios, yeah, welcome, and invite you to share a bit of your story around what's happened in Komotini, the sort of work you've been doing over the recent years.
Thank you very much, Ian. I also want to thank Sophia and Clara from ICLEI for their support, and also all the participants for being here. We would like them to hear our story, and we are really more than grateful if they have some questions that they will assist us to continue with our work. So I'm Dimitris Gartsonis. I'm consultant of the mayor of Komotini, and I'm coordinating this accessibility story in Komotini in the last years, which has started many years ago. I will share maybe my PowerPoint, Ian, to start speaking about it. Just give me.
Yeah, perfect.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you got it full screen. Yeah, all good.
Okay. So for those that they don't know the city, Komotini is a medium city for the Greek standards, which is located in the northern part of Greece, in Southeast Europe, in the borders with Bulgaria, by the really close to the borders of Turkey. And we are closer to Istanbul, Sofia, Bucharest than our capital, Athens. And we speak about accessibility, but what is accessibility for us? It's not just accessibility for streets, for mobility, for public space, but it's also for services and information for every person who is facing barriers. And which was the beginning, the turning point of our story. Unfortunately, it was the accident of one person. More or less 25 years ago, Alexandros Taxidaris, who had an accident in the sea, so he became a paraplegic. And from that moment, he, his family, and his friend established an NGO which start pushing for Komotini to become more accessible. Komotini has all these characteristics that you have in your mind for a medieval Balkan city. Anarchy, no public space, no pedestrian lanes, nothing. But since that time, and the try of one person and his family and his friend, things started to change. So Komotini was full of barriers at that moment, and part of the city still is. Physical barriers that could be seen, and also invisible barriers, especially in services and information. Since that time, Komotini step by step changes in order to become accessible. You can see in the photos here some of the construction projects which has been made. For those that they have come in Komotini or a similar city, you know which is the standard, and it's not like that at all. What was what was and still is the mindset of the municipality and all the local stakeholders that we cooperate with. Accessibility is not just a project or a formal obligation. It is an horizontal policy that cuts across all policies, projects, strategies, and actions. So we don't speak about for accessibility just in some cases, but it cross-cut everything in our city. We have divided this policy, the strategy, the policy, the activities in 6 different parts, 6 different modules that we have already presented in an Urbact project. And the first module is the policy and governance. As I just mentioned, accessibility cross-cut all major strategic documents. But at the same time, we produced 2 documents, the strategic document, which are directly connected with accessibility, the Urban Accessibility Plan, which is from its side connected to the sustainable urban mobility plan, and a touristic accessibility plan. I will explain you more about this a bit later. And the most important, but most probably is the most powerful element of our good practice is our partnership ecosystem. We are not alone in this trip. We have all active and less active local organizations and NGOs and all actors that should be contribute on it. And we don't do it just in project. It's like a constant consultation. We include them in every part of the process, from the beginning, from the designing to the implementation to the monitoring. Of course, the second module is the infrastructure and urban planning. We have succeeded a lot. We have not become what we want still. A lot has to be done. But we have a very good complex of walkways, accessible walkways, and bus and train stations in the city. We have more than 47 accessible playgrounds in the city. That is not only accessible the playground, but at least one item of the playground is for a person for accessibility. We have established a Paralympic Park. Of course, all of our websites and applications are complied with the digital accessibility standards. We have 4 different technologies for 12 beach access, accessible access, beach access points, and we keep expanding it. Of course, we work in with the technology, with applications. We are really proud for what we start designing and implementing a previous Urbact project, small project, the ARMS application that navigates people with disabilities or barriers from accessible routes inside the city, and also the digital mapping of disabled people in Rhodope that we have already used it in the wildfires of Greece 2 years ago. Komotini, I forgot to mention that has some specific characteristic, like, for example, that has a lot of different social and religious minorities. It's established one of the poorest regions of European Union. So we are well used to work in the social policy, and we provide more services in our citizens even before the Greek crisis of 2010. But we are really proud about these pop-up NGOs. The Alex Taxildaris that I mentioned before, they established a pioneer NGO who now it's pioneer even in European level, an NGO that with municipality, but without losing its independency, we work together in accessibility and not only. This was a good example. So since that time, we have many NGOs that in different disabilities on different sectors that they work in the same direction. Of course, we cannot leave behind the economic sector and especially tourism. Most of our important touristic points are accessible, and also it's the beach, the 12 points in the beach, and we try to attract tourists from people with disabilities because the city is friendly. We estimate that approximately 40 persons, the disabled persons, live in Komotini permanently, like digital nomads, because of this friendly status towards accessibility. And of course, it's the financing of this project. It's a long-term project. That means that we need different level, different source, different type of funding. which is quite difficult. We have many different strategies which are connecting among them. They are specialized in activities and activity plans, and through the time they have different type of funding. This is not an easy coordinating mechanism, but we do it along to our local partners. That means that in some cases, our local partners can implement on behalf of the municipality if the funding is more suitable to them or is closer to their needs, or even they have more to offer in know-how and volunteerism. It's as I said before, we are in a rather low GDP area, and we need this multi-funding instrument to go on with our project. That's from my side for now. I was trying to be brief, and I have a lot to say, but maybe we can discuss or comment on it.
Yeah, thank you, Dimitrios. No, I think it's a really good sort of overview of what you've achieved in Komotini. I think the thing that's interesting about it is the fact that it's quite holistic, it's quite integrated. It's the bits you said around it's not just a project, and accessibility is not just for streets and spaces alone, but also more broadly, more completely in all aspects of life almost. It's a bit that mindset around how we approach it. I guess the bit I wanted to pick up on first is that the sort of like the accessibility standards for spaces, for digital, for so on. They're understood in theory, they're well defined, they're well documented, but it's not just as simple as deciding to apply them and they come into practice. And I think, from what I understand of what you've done, a lot of the ways you've consulted on these projects, engaged people in these projects, the participatory action you've done around it has been part of what's enabled it. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about the sort of the dynamics of that and the processes that have evolved over time that you go through in terms of engaging people, bringing people into these things to understand, these are groups that are sometimes not as easily reached or as easily engaged, or sometimes even get forgotten about in these sort of processes. So I wonder if you could just talk about how you've really brought everybody and the whole community into this sort of process through the participative work you've done in designing and executing these projects.
First of all, we cannot forget them anymore, because the mentality of the city and the dynamic of the city has changed. We consider them as a part of the procedure. When we, for example, now that we have to, a few months ago, to prepare a new strategy, it was something normal that we should call them to be part of the working group. It's not just of one of the others, of one of the possible actors. It's maybe the basic one. It is from the beginning, and they are also after this so long period, they are exercised, they are experienced to feel free to speak. They don't come as a second level of discussion on the discussion. They are equal to the municipality. So even if we forget them, they won't let us to forget. And this provides the how to say the self-estimation, the power to the other NGOs that they are still growing up to feel free to participate on it and come and find us and say, we are new, we didn't invite us, we want to come and participate from now on, or to speak. So something that is out of the normal, out of the official procedure, started to be normalized in Komotini. Still is not easy, because there are rules. We have some procedures, and sometimes their opinion and the everyday practice is different to the strict law. So how to solve this conflict is also part of the procedure. It's also part of the mentality and the ethic of our municipality. We know that even in a construction project that may cost a lot, if we have the recommendation in this unofficial testing that although it's according to the um, specifications, but it does not fit to the reality, we step back, we examine our possibilities, and we try to solve it. We don't stand there and say, okay, this is the law. But
yes, so
this
something
takes
can be
time.
compliant, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it works in practice. And meeting the compliance is not the same as meeting the needs necessarily. And I think, yeah, that's interesting that you've got that feedback loop and that response from people to be able to do that. And I think it's easy to underestimate the challenge of, as a municipality, working in that way. It takes time for the sort of culture to change. And have you seen the difference from a number of years ago to now in terms of both how you talked about how the NGOs now react differently, and have you seen people within inside the municipality behaving differently and thinking differently as well?
Of course. Now I told you it's not. It's like part of the game. It's part of the everyday game. For example, just today we had a meeting to renovate and operate a camp with an NGO for people with disabilities, and there is no question about why they are here and they are participate. It's normal that we have to do together the planning and how they are going to operate it, which is also innovative. We are going to renovate it, but they are going to operate it to have an integrated camp for people with disabilities, children with disabilities, but not only. The integrated activities that we planned and implement in Komotini assist to this mentality. It's not things just for disabled people. They are integrated activities.
Yeah, and it's often that thing that if you can design for everybody, then it works for everybody. You don't necessarily always have to single out specific groups for specific treatment sometimes. No, that's really great. Just to iterate again, if people have got questions or comments, then please feel free to add something in the chat and we can come across to you. So if you're out there thinking about it and you've either got examples or questions or things you want to hear a bit more about, do drop a note in the chat and we can come across to you in a minute. Demetrios, I wonder if we could just move to think about what are the kind of sort of success factors. What's really sort of worked and made this sort of work? What are the things that have really brought it about and kind of made it what it is from your perspective in terms of what's core to making it successful and making it work?
Let me also share my screen. I have a couple of slides again. If it's okay. We have some successful points and some not successful, which is a good guidance for us for the future. So, accessibility became a shared priority across the city, which is quite strange for for the Greek mentality and such a small city in the frontiers of Europe. Of course, our uh, buildings, public space became accessible for everybody, not for disabled people, for everyone with barriers. Inclusive actions are designed and implemented, like runs or cultural events. Now we are planning we will organize inclusive parties, and we have these NGOs, the pop-up NGOs, that they are connected to the municipality. And I'm going to say again, without losing their independency, they are not just municipality saying yes, NGOs saying yes to municipality, but they contribute to the process. They we have our conflicts, which are more than fruitful. And we have this multi-organizational local constellation system that we work together, and we carry this partnership in many different sectors, keeping the accessibility in the core. And at the end of the day, accessibility started to be a brand for Komotini. We have been awarded as a good practice in Urbact, and also we were awarded as a lead city in the transfer networks. Komotini has been nominated with a special mention for accessibility as an opportunity for the city to the Access City Award 2021. We were also shortlisted the 10, I think it was 10 or 8, I can't remember, cities for 2025 cities of inclusion and diversity. That means that our work started to become a brand, and it was also an opportunity to solve our problems of the city and create a different name compared to their rivals. But I don't know if you want Ian to tell you what doesn't work.
Well, yes, I mean, I think that's also the interesting aspect of it. I think it's really great to see actually the recognition that you've got. But I think, yeah, the bits that you've had to struggle with or you've had to overcome, for other people thinking about how could I do this in my city, or how could I make a bit of a change, actually understanding, yeah, what are the barriers, which bits tripped you up, and how did you get around some of those?
So there it used to be, and still is, less powerful, a strong resistance for the change. Although they see these important steps, we keep discussing for going behind. Sometimes I see on social networks how nice was the city 20 years ago with this square and etc., which is more than funny. And that comes that when the momentum fade, when we don't have the power or the time to fight, and in some cases barrier quickly reappeared. That is the most intriguing point for us, because we are trying, and we must find the source of it. What is the mentality that makes entrepreneurs to put the barriers back, although city is more human? One of the major problems is the private sector. Theoretically, the private sector should go ahead and the public go behind and hunt the private sector, but no, it doesn't happen in our case. So in person with disability or with barriers can walk around the city, can go almost in every public building, but at the same time does not happen the same with restaurants and cafes or bars. Especially the beach is the more concrete example, that they can go inside the sea, but they cannot buy a coffee in the beach bar. And all this atmosphere, sometimes the city is divided into two, even in a fanatic way. Of course, this is a norma of Greek, Balkan, Mediterranean people, but it cannot be justified. That means that we still have a lot of work to do in the mentality, in the education of the children. That's why we, since last year, apart from all the cooperation with the NGOs, we try to give a big extent to the European Week of Mobility events, but not only in this week, to expand the preparation period all over the year. We have seen also good examples that we transfer in Komotini, and we try to adjust it to our mentality. And speaking about transferability, maybe Maybe a lot of you would wonder if this good practice can be transferred to your city or some elements of it. Ian, I don't know if you want me to comment a bit on it or you have any comment.
No, I mean, no, you can, that's useful to talk about because I think it kind of leads into, what are the successes, what are the challenges, and actually what does that mean in terms of how could this spread, how could this be adopted, how might it apply differently in different situations. So yeah, please go ahead and say a bit more on that.
Okay, it's quite easy, not so easy, but it's still quite easy to transfer some parts of the good practice, but not to have this universal approach. And this is what we asked from our partner cities in Urbact projects, in other projects. But what we have seen is that all cities, they have the core of for the change. So that means people, organizations that they are active and they want to be more active. So it's a change of behavior, change of mentality, change of the system that takes a lot of time, needs a lot of work. It needs a methodological tools that in some cases policymakers don't like it so much because it takes time. It doesn't appear an instant change. But all the tools, all the basic elements are there. We have seen it in many cities, and we comment on it. So what Komotini did and is still doing can be done for many cities. That most of European cities are more or less around our size, a bit bigger, but under the same mentality according to the size of the city. So what happened in Komotini can be happened to our eyes also elsewhere.
I know it's interesting that you, looking at it, feel that other cities have the potential for it. You can see that it's possible. Are there particular things that you've seen? I mean, either through the Urbac transfer project that you did or elsewhere, are there particular barriers and problems you see with other cities? Are there blockers that happen regularly when you're working with other cities that always come up, that you always having to see them overcome in order to adopt this thing, or is it straightforward once they understand the approach? What's your observation of that?
To be honest, more or less, there are two major problems. The first one is the economic, okay, and we need money for the change. But at the same time, we need that big amount of funds that never will be enough. So we have to start thinking on clever solutions. Okay,
Yeah.
not just constructions. Constructions will never end. And the second one is a resistance to the change that usually comes from the fact that we have learned to do it like that. You cannot find the obstacle somewhere else specifically, not in the law, not in the procedure, but as a system we have learned to do like that. So these are the main barriers that I have seen in different topologies, different showcases, but this is the starting point.
So I suppose it's the same in a lot of different fields, having to unlearn particular expectations, particular behaviors. And I suppose from both sides, from the municipality side, having to think differently, but also from citizens and NGOs being willing to engage. I mean, I suppose I've seen it when if a municipality tries to leap forward with participation, everyone outside the municipality is suspicious and like, why are they suddenly asking us what's going on here? So it takes a little bit of time. And I think that's one of the things that you've spent 20 years or so in Komotini has been building that mindset, gradually making those little changes, making those expectations. There's a question in the chat actually from Christina, who was just asking about if you have a permanent or sort of regular working space or sort of gathering, a way where you gather these different actors and stakeholders together, or if you just convene them for particular actions or particular decisions. So I think correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, but you're meaning, is this an ongoing process as part of a dialogue, or is it tactically we need an input, we'll take it, and then we'll step away again? So is it an ongoing thing that you have, or a way of people continually engaging? Oh, you're okay. You're frozen there, Dimitros. You're right. Oh, yeah.
Um, we there first of all in Komotini, most of the NGOs, almost all, apart from one, I think, they are established in a location which is provided by the municipality, and all the expenses are paid from the municipality.
Okay.
With these NGOs, we have established activities which are repeated and enriched every year, and in some cases they are integrated, because we don't want to do just with one NGO and just with the other, but we would try to do common things. And every year we put more things in the table, on the table, and which is not easy, because even these NGOs, they have a conflict among them. Inside the disability movement, there are a huge fights among different disabilities, and there are some political issues. We are in the small society, and even personal sometimes, but we meet them regularly under different circumstances. We have some such a let's say a calendar, such a curricula per year, that it has been established a regular process.
And that's part of your sort of partnership ecosystem, is it, that you talked about? Yeah, the kind of, I guess, sort of feeding and watering that partnership and those relationships, and sort of keeping things on. Do you do direct engagement with just the public more generally, with citizens, or is it always through NGOs who represent people?
We also try to we do first of all, during the consultation periods of strategy of our activities, we also address directly to citizens, and we have also a system and an application for those volunteers that they are not belong to any of NGO or club, to go directly in the municipality and be organized by the municipality. Though we are a city that we have a lot of NGOs and social and cultural clubs, so by cooperating with them, you go directly to maybe to 95% of the citizens.
Okay. So
What is interesting in Komotini, we have approximately 1,000 university students that maybe they are a bit more independent, and we try to find them, and they try to find us. They're not so aware of what's happening in the city. They are young citizens, and still not aware about the procedures. And maybe we try to work, but we should work more with them.
Okay, that's an area you want to do more with them. Do you work with? I guess you work with young people where they come through those NGOs, but not more generally students. Is that what you're meaning? You kind of want to be more open with students and young people.
Yes, because they don't, yeah, they are students. They are not, they are from other cities. They don't have the time to be incorporated in these groups, and in some cases, normally they are not interested in the first years. They are tried for entertainment, and which is normal. I did the same.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, and it's really interesting. Before I go on, is there anyone else who wants to either say anything or ask anything? Feel free to put your hand up on using the reaction button if you want to, or to drop something in the chat. I'll just say to do feel free, if people have examples of things in your city that's similar or that's different, that's sort of a comparison or a contrast. Feel free to be interested to hear about that as well. I think just Sophia's got something. Sophia, do you want to?
Actually, I had another question, but I see that there's a comment in the chat now.
So you go for yours, Sophia. I'll read that one whilst you're doing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this conversation has been around NGOs, which I really love to see a city so actively engaging with NGOs. And I'm curious, how you work together with the NGOs without them losing their independence, because this is something that you mentioned earlier. And what happens in situations where there's conflicting priorities, like the city wants one thing, the NGO wants another thing. How is this handled in Komotini?
Um, that's first of all, that's why since the time we involve them and we commit each other from the designing phase, it's quite difficult to reach to a moment that we are conflict in something serious. This is really important to involve them since the early beginning. We avoid that kind of status. Um, Komotini has a really complex social status. More, I haven't analyzed it because it's not the issue of this, but we have this Muslim minority, we have Roma population, we have resettlers from ex-Soviet Union. We have these university students. It's quite difficult, and we have learned as a city to, in most of the cases, unless it's really important, as a municipality to step back a bit and see what this group of people want and why. We have this we want really, we are really interested to keep this group integrated and social connected, and we don't want to go against them. So usually the municipality has this mentality, no matter who is the mayor, to step back and discuss with them and try to find a common solution. This is a culture in Komotini due to all this multicultural status. This is what we are doing with NGOs, even especially with people with disability, because they live on it. They live in it. Just recently, we had a construction project, and the technical department of Komotini was insisting that everything happened according to the specifications and the law. And we went to this road. They tried to see if it works, and we changed the plan. It's this is more or less what we are doing.
Yeah, I guess it's that also that willingness to try it with people, give them the space to test it and listen if it says no, it doesn't work, and to respond to that, because that can be really challenging, I think, from an administrative side of the municipality, but also in the political side, it can sometimes be difficult to back off. I think it's interesting when you say that, as a municipality, you're normally interested in what they want and what they think. And I think that, I suppose, goes to the root of why we do these sort of participative processes, because actually, if you don't care what people think, you don't do it. You have to actually, to do it, to get value from it, you have to be curious, you have to want to know, you have to want to understand. It's almost coming to the process with questions rather than answers as a municipality, to understand the full perspective. And I guess that underpins the mindset a bit in terms of how you're thinking. I'm just going to pick up on the comment before coming to Clara. I think it's got to come in. There's a comment from Katerina in the chat just saying about, in terms of participation, a good starting point for local authorities is creating space for the initiatives and linking those with planning activities. And that in Komotini, you actually use persisting groups and NGOs to sort of nourish them and help them actually build up and scale up, and actually sort of investing in that ecosystem, I guess, is what you're trying to say there, Katerina, in terms of providing support for these groups, because actually they then help you if you help them, and it's that mutual benefit, mutual ecosystem, I think. I hope I've interpreted what you mean by that right. But that's an interesting thing in terms of the creating space, and I think sometimes, I suppose that's what the municipality, like you say, sort of take a step back, Dimitri. Yeah, actually, you have to allow people to move into that space. If you try and control the space, you don't let people in. They can't participate. They can't get involved in it. So sometimes it is about allowing others to step into it, which is, I suppose, also challenging because you're releasing a little bit of control there as well, and that's often perceived as a risk and as scary, I suppose, as well, in some cases.
I just want to say, Ian, we are really careful on it, because if we disturb this ecosystem and we are more into one NGO than to the another, this disturbance might create a problem. We are really careful. although it's quite tricky for a policymaker to decide to give part of its power to someone else.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. That maintaining that balance within that partnership it can be quite challenging. Yeah. Clara, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you. And especially also thank you, Dimitrios, for the presentation. It's really nice to see what Komotini is doing. I have a question regarding, so you said that you're working with several NGOs that are also maybe focused on different disabilities. And I was wondering, how do you, how do you help people that have different capabilities? So, for example, people that have more of a mental disability, how can you actually make them be also part of the participation processes? Or, yeah, that's the main question.
Okay. There is an active NGO that we work with them. The best example that we are doing with them is that they operate a business where they work and they produce local products that they are sold and they are bought also in most of the cases from the municipality. And also they have some kind of sports and we encourage them and we pay some of the expenditures. We organize annual sport games. For example, it's 2 years in a row we organized the Hellenic, Pan-Hellenic, and the second one was European bowling games that they are participating. We have a different type of interventions that in most of the cases they are coming after their introduction because mental is something different and how mental is defined. For example, Down syndrome, it might be mental. Um, what else? There are different types of disability that as municipality we don't want to go on the definition. We are waiting from the NGO for, in some cases, for their need, or we provide them the tools and the scientists to assist them and have their needs from them.
So you draw on that ecosystem again to support you in that sort of engagement, so you can because I suppose that's the thing. There are some situations where you need a certain degree of expertise to help bring people into a process or to meet their needs in the right way in terms of engagement. So what I'm hearing there is you're saying that you're using those local partners to help you make that bridge and to help make those connections. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I forgot to say that they are working in the municipality more than 40 persons from disabled groups from the different NGOs. They are working directly in the municipality. Most of them with mental disabilities as also a way to assist them.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things in there in terms of all those little different bits, and it's quite a balancing act, I guess, to maintain and support all these things. But it's really great to hear that despite the challenges you have, you're sort of managing to keep that ecosystem and that mindset running. We're moving towards the end of the time we've got. Just wanted to check that there's no one else that wants to ask a question or come in on anything. So this is a sort of final moment. If you have got a question for Dimitrios or anything else you particularly want to share that's relevant. So either pop your hand up or drop something in the chat if you do want to. What's your, just in case anything does come in, but Dimitrios, for you, what's the thing that you really hope that happens next in this? Where is there an area that you kind of think, what I'd love to be able to see now is this area developing, or we've got something in the pipeline that we're trying to work on? Are there new things that you're pushing into, or is it really just about securing this thing and embedding it? What's the future for this in Komotini?
The future is to educate children as a changing factor. We have starting working on it. We are going to establish accessibility committee. We will transform this unofficial partnership to an official body that they are going to have assisting and consulting, let's say, ability for the municipal council, and we are going to make small interventions like signal translation for deaf people in our major events, or brag to every signs of the municipality. And there are many different, we want to go from the big one to small, that they are really important for some part of the people. Even if the audience is small, it's really important for us. It also assists to the change of the mentality, to understand that it doesn't matter how many people concern this, but it should be for all.
Yeah. So there are some minorities in terms of numbers, but you still want to be able to support and make it accessible for all, like you said in your slogan. Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. Well, there's a question in the chat. We probably don't have time to pick it up, Anastasia, but we can certainly connect you with Dimitrios if you want to understand more about that as we go through. Thanks for that, Dimitrios. It's been really good to kind of to hear sort of the presentation from it, but actually get into the kind of the real detail of it and understand it a bit more. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time. Thank you to the people who've added comments and questions as well. And really, it's just for me to hand back to Sophia as well, just to sort of tell us about what's coming next in this series of events as we go through. But yeah, thank you, Dimitrios, for your time today. It's really appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. We can do a virtual round of applause for Dimitrios. Thank you so much. And yeah, exactly. We're just wrapping up here on time, which is fantastic. And I would like to point you to what's next in this Cities of Equality Exchange series. As I mentioned, there will be 3 of these. Dimitrios has kicked us off in a lovely way with the first one, and the next event online will be happening on April 8th at 11 a.m. And I've put the registration link in the chat already. And it will be focusing on structures behind inclusive participation. So what are 2 different systems in the city of Heerenveen, and from France's National Cohesion Agency, that they'll share us a little bit about how to enable participation in local contexts. So that's a little teaser for that event. You'll see the registration link in the chat. But I would like to conclude just by giving a very big thank you to Dimitrios, to Ian, and to all of you for coming and joining us today. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.